Top Gun, you have to be among the very best, and I get to test weapons that live up to that name. Meet the Navy's latest and greatest jet fighter, the Super Hornet. That's one swarm you don't want to stir up. And what protects the biggest warship in the world?
The missile shoots and gets onto the beam where it's looking and rides out to our target.
The Marines have a new howitzer that will definitely get your attention. It's smart and it's fast.
There's nothing like starting the morning off with a bang.
Then I get my hands on a new assault rifle that combines power and accuracy.
One shot, one kill.
I'm Richard Mackwitz. I spent 10 years with the Navy SEALs, and I'm on a mission to find the best new weapons in the world.
I love this job!
In the 1960s, the U.S. combat soldier met a new friend. The M16 assault rifle. Since then, it's been used in just about every combat mission, from the jungles of Vietnam to the deserts of Iraq. The M16 family is the most trusted in the U.S. The only problem is in modern combat, the small .556 caliber just doesn't have the punch of a bigger bullet. Today's rifles need real stopping power. And that means a bigger round. Now it's time to welcome a new ally. One with even greater stopping power, the Barrett M468. I've come to the headquarters for Barrett Firearms in Murfreesboro, Tennessee to find out more. To understand what sets it apart from the two most popular assault rifles used today, we need to look at the difference between the rounds they fire. This is the 5.56 millimeter round. It's the standard round for the M16 and M4 rifles. It's a small bullet, but it flies really fast. The standard round for the AK-47 is the 7.62 millimeter. It's a much bigger bullet, but it travels around 400 miles an hour slower than the smaller 5.56 round. And that's a big difference for an assault rifle. What I'm looking for is a bullet with enough punch to stop a terrorist dead in his tracks. I'm going to look at the smaller round first.
Now, the 5.56 is a very accurate round, but it doesn't necessarily transfer enough kinetic energy to knock down a target. What I'm going to do is I'm going to demonstrate that kinetic energy against one of those steel targets down there. As you can see, I hit the target, but not enough kinetic energy was transferred to this steel plate to knock it down. And I'll tell you, that's not ideal in a combat situation.
Now, let's see how that compares with the larger round that's used by the AK-47. It's a bullet that will drop the target in one shot. It's big, it weighs more, and it transfers most of its kinetic energy right into the target, with enough force to knock it down. At this range, it's an easy shot, but at ranges of 400 yards or more, the round just starts to fall right out of the sky. So, is there a round big enough to stop a bad guy, but accurate enough to ensure a kill in just one shot?
What you're looking for is a round that can deliver enough mass at that accelerated pace that when it arrives, it literally forces the target to the ground.
And this is where the new Barrett comes into its own. It's been developed to take a larger and more powerful round without sacrificing the accuracy of the smaller caliber. What's its secret? Well, it's in the name. The M468 takes the Remington 6.8 millimeter special purpose cartridge. Lifelong shooter Ronnie Barrett is the man behind it.
We are now looking to try to beef up the potency of this rifle by increasing the lethality of the projectile. We are coming up on enemy combatants that are no longer stopped by being wounded or being put out of commission. It's almost like a kamikaze type situation where the only way to truly stop him is to kill him.
This rifle gives you the best of both worlds by firing the 6.8 round.
It's big and it's fast. And when it's moving through the air, you don't want to be in its way.
That's the theory, but I can't wait to get my hands on the M468 for myself. Just look at that. A single shot, and as predicted, the target hits the deck.
It has diameter, and it has weight, and it has kinetic energy, and it has what it takes to kill on the first round.
Best of all, the gun has been designed to handle just like the reliable M16, an assault rifle most infantry are familiar with.
If you look, the stock is basically the same, the buffer assembly is the same, the trigger assembly is the same, the selection switch is the same, even the magazine release is exactly the same. So, when you start to look at how it's actually put together for field stripping, you've got the upper receiver, you've got the charging handle, which is exactly the same, yeah, boom. You've got the bolt assembly, which feels exactly the same. It actually marries perfectly the upper and lower receivers. Pins are exactly the same, so this weapon is ready to go, ready to do its business. It has twice the stopping power of the 5.56. You get a bigger payoff and a better knockout punch.
Now it's time to see it in action.
Okay, here's the scenario. You got two guys over there, they're using doors as cover. I've been authorized to get my M468 online. If I see them as a threat, I can take them out. And the challenge is to shoot through the door and knock them down with one round. The business is done, they're as good as gone, and the day is saved.
I've used other assault rifles many times, and I know they're great weapons, but I'm impressed by what I've seen with the new Barrett. The results speak for themselves. The Barrett assault rifle has another trick up its sleeve that protects soldiers in close-quarter fighting, especially in environments like Baghdad. Just the sheer noise of rounds going off in buildings can be disorienting. Enter the Barrett, deadly and quiet. It has threads to mount a suppressor. Ronnie Barrett's son, Chris, spotted the need for this as a standard.
So you don't have the logistical problem of, how do we mount a suppressor on the weapon? This gun is ready to accept the suppressor, which, as you know, is a valuable tool in tactics in this room-to-room, urban-type combat.
Absolutely. Having a suppressor that you can easily put on a weapon and use it in those close-quarter situations makes all the difference in the world.
The introduction of the M468 marks a new era for the U.S. infantry rifle.
With the perfect partnership of the Barrett 4.68 and the 6.8 millimeter round, one shot is one kill. If it's coming at you, this is the last thing you'll ever see.
Coming up, a brand new howitzer so light and so powerful, it can change the course of a battle. And I step aboard the world's most powerful warship.
When a ferocious flurry of big punches is needed on the battlefield, you turn to artillery. Now, nothing makes you want to put your head down faster than hearing a chorus of screaming 100-pound explosive rounds headed in your direction. It's effective, it's devastating, and every military in the world uses it.
But big guns carry a big drawback.
The one major challenge the big gun has always faced is weight. The more you weigh, the slower you move. The slower you move, the less effective you are on the battlefield.
Traditionally, howitzers are the backbone of any land assault. The problem is they are very big and difficult to move quickly. Take, for example, the M198 model. Weighing in at 16,000 pounds, it doesn't exactly move fast when the clock is ticking. When the Marines hit Afghanistan in 2001, they were so worried about it slowing them down that they resorted to using smaller and much less powerful weapons like rockets and grenades. The good news? There's a brand new howitzer making its way to the fight. I'm on my way to Oklahoma to find out more.
I've been invited to Fort Sill for an exclusive preview of America's latest howitzer, the M777.
It's being designed for the Marine Corps, and if everything goes to plan, it promises a big bang for their buck. A howitzer that's smarter, faster, and lighter. To find out more, I meet with Colonel Tanzi, the man behind current and future cannon systems in the United States.
What we've done with the 777 is we've gone from steel to high tensile titanium, and we've reduced the weight of this vehicle from 16,000 pounds to about 9,800 pounds, almost in half.
The M777 is designed as a towed or air-mobile weapon, and because it's lighter, it's a lot easier to transport. You can put it under a CH-47 Chinook helicopter and still have room for ammunition. Better yet, you can fit 2 of them onto a C-130 aircraft compared to just 1 traditional howitzer. Once on the ground, the M777 can be moved using the same truck as older models. But because it's half the weight, the truck is able to carry about 40% more ammunition. And that means it can fire a range of different rounds for different targets.
The key word here is flexibility.
Right.
And having a weapon system like this allows you to be so much more flexible.
I got to be able to cover every mission that could potentially hit our maneuver forces out there, and we've got to support them.
The M777 is definitely smaller and lighter than its tried and tested counterpart. But don't be fooled into thinking that it makes it less powerful.
This is a standard HE, high explosive 155 howitzer round. It weighs just about 100 pounds. And when it's fired from the M777, it throws this round at 3 times the speed of sound out to 15 to 18 miles.
That's very good news for the ground troops who need help in a hurry.
I mean, picture an infantry soldier out there who's pinned down by a machine gun nest, by an enemy insurgent. Well, the one person he's going to call is going to be his artillery fire support coordinator, and he's going to ask for fires. And I don't want to waste time.
Even better, the M777 never gets lost. It's got an onboard computer that can tell it exactly where it is and orients itself on the battlefield. It's called TADS.
TADS is a way for this vehicle to not only find itself in space and time on the ground, it can locate itself, it can also orient itself on a direction. So it gives it directional control and orientation to where it's at on the Earth.
So you're talking about an artillery gun that is able to communicate to its crew exactly where everything else is at.
Where it's at and where it's pointed.
That's a big advantage. Traditionally, artillery systems had to be positioned close enough to each other to allow for voice commands. But now, with this new digital capability, they should be able to spread out more, allowing them to deliver their devastating firepower over a much greater area. And because it's so smart, it also has the ability to fire precision munitions, which can destroy a target from around 24 miles away. Having heard all about the M777, I'm up long before daybreak to join the Marines for a day of operational exercises.
Come on, let's go.
These fine men are just out of Marine Corps training and are hoping to specialize in artillery fire. Their mission today is to learn how to position, load, and fire the M777.
Break on!
Traditional howitzers needed a crew of 9 men just to operate them. This one only needs 5.
There's nothing like starting the morning off with a bang.
The Marines start by firing a spotting round. Once they've found their range, they line up their guns, and here it comes.
Fired a spotting round. Now they're going to get ready to fire for effect. They're going to shoot a volley of 3 rounds apiece.
Quadrant 240.
They're firing air-bursting rounds. They explode mid-air for maximum impact against troops. Shrapnel and the blast wave takes out anything within a 50-yard radius. Because of the risk of unexploded ordnance, the target area is completely off-limits. I have enough experience to tell you, I've seen the damage from heavy artillery. And take it from me, devastation is the name of the game. Time to check in with the troops.
So what do you think about this weapon?
This weapon is awesome. I believe it's the future of artillery. It's highly mobile, it's quick in our response time, and it's real easy to operate.
This weapon system is lighter, more mobile, faster to deploy, and with the new digital package, will be more accurate than any artillery gun ever. Watch out. Here comes the M777.
Coming up, I get to check out new weapons on the most feared warship in the world. And then the Navy puts me through an intense series of tests before I get to fly in their latest jet fighter, the Super Hornet. There is a weapon so powerful it can intimidate an entire region. That weapon is the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower. The Eisenhower, nicknamed the Ike, is one of the Navy's 9 Nimitz-class supercarriers. There is no ship on Earth that carries more firepower. It commands the seas and the skies, transporting 2 squadrons of strike fighters around the globe. After a recent $1.5 billion overhaul, the aircraft carrier bristles with new technology.
Our mere presence in a region can induce calm and potentially diffuse the situation, and a wide variety of weaponry available to provide a wide variety of effects.
Massive just seems like too small a word to describe the 4.5 acres of U.S. sovereign territory that moves across the world. From end to end, the Eisenhower is as long as the Empire State Building is tall.
At 1,000 feet long and rising 24 stories above the waves, the USS Eisenhower is master and commander. It dominates wherever it travels, controlling 6 million cubic miles of airspace and an incredible 150,000 square miles of ocean. That's about the size of California. This formidable ship has long sea legs too. Because it's nuclear powered, the Eisenhower can stay at sea for years at a time.
With its nuclear reactor and a top speed of 30 knots, the Eisenhower has nearly unlimited endurance and the speed to get to any hot spot in the world and make its presence felt.
During its recent refit, the Ike was given 2 new nuclear reactor cores pumping out a massive 280,000 horsepower. And it can still go for 25 years without refueling. That means nowhere is beyond its reach, especially with these on board. 2 squadrons of the Navy's latest jet fighter. It's a squadron you don't want to stir up because it's capable of delivering a deadly sting.
This beautiful machine is the Super Hornet. It's the next generation of the F-18 Hornet. It's capable of carrying a much bigger payload, which means it can deliver a bigger knockout punch.
After 25 years in the Navy's inventory, the F-18 Hornet was due for a major facelift. And boy, did it get it. Bigger engines made it faster and more powerful, but at the same time, it got a longer range, so now it can fly 40% further than before. I talked to pilot, Lieutenant Charlie Stoli Schwartz.
So you are a pilot for a Super Hornet. What's the difference between a Super Hornet and the regular Hornet?
The Super Hornet, as opposed to the regular Hornet, has a lot bigger wingspan, has a few more wing stations that can carry a few more extra bombs. Basically, it's a little bit more advanced avionics and a few more advanced weapon systems that we can carry on the jet.
The twin-engined Super Hornet packs a vast array of awesome weapons. Its 11 weapon station can carry every air-to-air and air-to-ground weapon in the Navy's inventory. They're controlled by the pilot's helmet. A magnetic mounted tracker determines where the pilot's head is pointed and projects the information onto the pilot's visor. The head tracker and visor display act as a targeting device that can aim the plane's weapons wherever the pilot is looking. Whatever he's packing, they're fired with just the nod of the pilot's head.
Our joint helmet mounted cueing system gives us the ability to look, don't even have to point the jet, and shoot. In the air, basically, when you're going through merges, meaning jets are coming right at each other, you just have the ability to keep running and point and shoot. It's a great tool just to get away from your target as soon as possible, especially against the more advanced air-to-air threats.
The Super Hornet is a true multi-role aircraft. It can perform virtually every mission in the tactical spectrum, including day or night strikes, suppression of enemy air defenses, maritime strikes, and reconnaissance.
What capabilities does the Super Hornet actually give the Eisenhower?
The Super Hornet actually gives the Eisenhower the capability to have a few less jets on the flight deck. We have the ability to give gas, playing a tanker role, and we also have the ability to extend our time on station with the extra gas that the Super Hornet can carry.
As a multi-mission strike fighter, the Super Hornet is an incredible machine. The U.S. Navy pilots who fly these birds are among the world's best. They have so much skill, they can virtually land on a dime, stopping in just 275 feet. The ship's catapult throws them into the air to reach launch speeds of 180 miles per hour in just 1.5 seconds. Its onboard computers all talk to the squadron, giving everyone a complete picture of the battlefield. The Super Hornet is the Navy's best strike fighter yet. Coming up, what other super weapons protect the Ike? And I experienced life as a Top Gun firsthand. Because
That's the Super Hornet, and I get to fly in one.
the USS Eisenhower commands the world's oceans.
The only problem with being the biggest thing in the ocean is that you are a gigantic and very visible target.
As the British discovered during the Falklands War, the greatest threat to a ship is a missile attack. They lost 2 ships to the deadly Exocet missile. If an Exocet hits a carrier, it's game over. But the Eisenhower doesn't need to worry. The Ike is equipped with a missile system so smart it controls not only its own missiles, but the entire strike groups as well. It's called the Ship's Self-Defense System, or SSDS for short. Combat Systems Officer Brian Julian is in charge of the Ike's defenses.
In a nutshell, what it's done is integrated all of our sensors and our fire control weapons.
In other words, all of the ships work together as a team to tackle any threat. Once it gets into killing range, the SSDS chooses the best placed launcher from the entire fleet and lets it rip.
So basically everything's interconnected. Weapon systems, radars, everything works together.
We've got to be ready all the time for the unexpected. And so all systems ready all the time is our credo.
To ensure they're prepared for anything, the crew drills constantly.
All hands man your battle stations.
That's general quarters. It's where the crew is brought to a full state of readiness. No one has an idea what the threat is. It could be anything from a fire to an incoming missile.
Here's what happens when an incoming missile is spotted. The ship's self-defense system triggers the first line of defense, the new, improved Sea Sparrow missile. It's faster, with a bigger warhead and even greater range. It can even obliterate high-speed, sea-skimming cruise missiles.
Once you fire one of the Sea Sparrow missiles, how long does it take to get to the target?
It's a supersonic missile. It flies pretty fast. Seconds.
Wow.
The Sea Sparrow is steered to the target by its own shipboard radar called the Director.
How far can this see and hear, basically?
About 50 nautical miles.
Wow.
When the missile is launched, it tunes into this beam and rides it out to the target. The Sea Sparrow can intercept a target up to 13 miles away. It's fast, flying at supersonic speeds to take out its target using an explosive warhead.
So you guys pick up a missile that's about 13 miles out, and then you make a determination. How fast would that all take place?
I've seen engagements take less than 12 seconds up to 38 seconds from start to finish.
The launcher is also packed with missiles, 8 of them.
The Sea Sparrow missile gives you 8 opportunities to stop an incoming threat. And trust me, when you're talking about a cruise missile coming at you, you need that big a safety net.
Okay, worst case scenario. What happens if an incoming threat slips through the net? Previously, the Ike relied upon a weapon called the Phalanx. The Phalanx shoots a wall of tungsten bullets at its target, but it only takes out missiles once they're right near the ship. And that's a terrifying thought with an Exocet missile coming right at you. The Ike needed a last line of defense that could strike faster and sooner. So, as part of its refit, a powerful new rapid reaction missile system made its debut. It's called the RAM. It's short for Rolling Airframe Missile, and it can go faster and further than the Phalanx. Fire Controlman Second Class Robert Delahunt and his RAM team have just seconds to react.
RAM's absolutely vital because it's our second umbrella of defense. It's our second level of defense on board Ike. It's a fast attack, high rate of fire missile system. 100% accurate.
Really?
Yes.
After launch, the missile spins at high speed, where its wings pop out to help it fly straight. It's accurate and deadly. The RAM uses Sidewinder technology. 21 can be fired in batches of 3. They're used against any airborne threat, from hostile aircraft to missiles fired from an enemy ship.
How do you feel about the RAM personally?
RAM, it lets me sleep at night.
Yeah?
Yes.
Having the RAM means that the aircraft carrier is no longer a gigantic sitting duck at sea, and the crew has 21 reasons to feel safer. Its simple but superior technology makes it capable of decimating any incoming air attacks.
Still to come, I get to fly in the Super Hornet, but only after a rigorous training program for fighter pilots. I'm about to take a ride in one of the world's most advanced fighter jets. It's the ultimate thrill, but it's no walk in the park. Before I go up, I have to convince the Navy I'm flight-worthy, so I'm heading to Patuxent River Naval Air Station in Maryland, known by aviators simply as Pax River. This facility stretches across 25 miles of shoreline and is home to one of the biggest airfields on the East Coast. Before I can get into the seat of a Super Hornet, I need to pass some challenging pre-flight tests. Getting through the training is far from guaranteed. It's time to go back to school. First up is a medical with the doc, Lieutenant Colvin, to find out if my body will be able to cope with the forces of flying in a supersonic jet. The Super Hornet could unleash havoc on my body. It could affect my hearing, my vision. It could even starve my brain of oxygen, causing a total blackout.
Around 5 Gs, you can get to near zero blood pressure in your brain. You want to make sure your heart can take those stresses.
Well, Doc, have I passed this portion?
You passed. You're good to go. Start the training.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
They heard I'm a former Navy SEAL, so they want to have a little fun and put me through my paces. I'm in for a very long day of tests and training.
There we go. One signature down. 3 more to go.
I'm going to get one-on-one instruction, but their job is to make sure I'm ready for anything. Aviation is serious business, and there's no room for any dead weight. During flight, recognizing the changes in your body is one thing, but you've also got to deal with them, and fast. One of the most dangerous problems is G-induced loss of consciousness, or G-LOC. Aviation physiologist Ari Golyubov tells me what I could be in for.
Now you're generating a lot of gravitational force that's pulling the blood basically downward. The blood's getting heavier and it's being pulled out of the head and out of the brain and the eyes where you can't get oxygen up in there.
Normal human tolerance is about 3 to 4 Gs, but we're gonna push the Super Hornet up to 7.5 Gs. That's a lot of Gs. During extreme flight, you never know what might go wrong. And if the worst happens, you need to bail out, and fast.
How you doing, sir?
How you doing, Raymond?
PR1 Bear. I'll be your
pleasure.
instructor today for the aeromedical aspects of injection. These seats are designed for 3 benchmarks. First benchmark is to clear you from that aircraft. There's apparently something wrong with this aircraft. We need to get away from it. Second thing you want to see is that automatic parachute deployment. Third thing you want to see is seat man separation. This whole shell, everything goes away with the exception of the seat kit is attached to you, just like this young man up here hanging.
Ejecting from a supersonic jet is extremely violent. Plunging out of the cockpit puts enormous pressure on your spine, compressing it. Then you're hit with a massive wind blast. I hope that being in this training seat is the closest I ever get.
Okay, so now you build the steer.
A 3D simulator completes my parachute training, but ejection and parachuting aren't the worst parts of punching out of a Super Hornet. Landing in the sea is where it gets really tricky. As a one-time Navy SEAL, I'm at home in the water. But today, I'm swimming with an extra 45 pounds of gear and flight helmet.
Next we're gonna be doing is the swimmer. It's basically 5 latches. Operate all the latches, the last one being the door.
If your aircraft hits the water, your goal is to escape from your seat and get out to the nearest exit. Otherwise, you're going down in a jet-shaped coffin. As the plane sinks into the ocean, you cannot assume you can see down there. To make it even more challenging, they decide to blind me. They've painted the inside of my goggles black. Now I've got to keep from drowning, find out exactly where I am, and do it all before I run out of breath. It's times like this I really appreciate my 10 years of training as a Navy SEAL. On to my final test. It's a rescue scenario.
Turn around, face the water. I want you to step when you hear the bell.
They drop me into the water, simulating a parachute landing. And I have to swim to a winch under storm force conditions wearing full pilot's gear. I get to the winch and hook myself up. It's what I'd have to do if a chopper had to pluck me out of the sea.
And that's my last test, which means I'm now qualified to backseat the Super Hornet.
Coming up, I get to fly shotgun in the Navy's own Top Gun, the Super Hornet. The Super Hornet is the U.S. Navy's newest strike fighter. I've completed all my pre-flight tests. Now it's time for the real thing.
All right, well, welcome. We're going to brief the demo flight for you. It's going to be in an F-18 Foxtrot Super Hornet.
My pilot is Lieutenant Commander Lucas Spicoli Kadar. He tells me what I have to look forward to.
Full lateral stick input with a maintaining aft stick to keep the alpha on the jet, and the jet's going to execute a pirouette where it just pivots across itself, kind of swaps ends, and then we can come back downhill in that fashion.
The flight he's planning will take me through an incredibly intense set of combat maneuvers. It's going to be wilder than any roller coaster ride you've ever imagined.
It'll be pretty eye-watering how fast we'll get through 20,000 feet.
I'm starting to get a feeling he wants to have some fun with me. Time to get suited up in the important G-suit that will help me deal with the massive G-forces. Here's my harness, the survival vest, and my helmet. Time to take off. Spicoli has been flying super fast jets for over 10 years, so I know I'm in great hands.
This is the latest and greatest we have in our strike fighter. These are going to be your primary displays. You'll be able to see navigation displays, weapons, some air-to-ground weapons displays, navigation modes, things of that nature that are going to pertain to our flight. Normally, things that are painted yellow and black, when you activate them, violent things happen. So,
again, don't touch the violent.
Yeah, don't touch unless we really talk about it and we need you to.
I passed my medical examination, practiced my parachute landing, prepared for sensory disorientation, and come through the water test with flying colors.
In a few minutes, I get to go for the ride of my life on Super Hornet.
Spicoli takes me up to 40,000 feet. As we climb, I can feel the engine's massive power. Then he executes some tight turns, and I can start to feel the G's pulling on my body. All right, here we go. He's starting to show what this bird can really do. Going to execute the pirouette maneuver. It's designed to shake an enemy off your tail. At the top of the loop, the plane rolls sharply and we're into a steep dive. We're hurtling towards the ground at speeds well over Mach 1.2. But Spicoli doesn't hang back. ride is over. We took off with an hour and a half worth of fuel, and Spicoli has burned it all up in 42 minutes. Incredible.
Tell you what, that was certainly one of the best experiences of my life. And certainly the best ride I've ever had in my life. That was an incredible experience, man. Thank you so much for taking care of me, man.
It's my pleasure, Mac. You know, being able to show you what the Super Hornet can do, and putting it through its paces like that. And I could tell you were having a ride of your life. So, you know, all my pleasure.
The Super Hornet has shown me, in a combat situation, weapons that have the best technology have the biggest advantage. Every time.